The Premier League has announced a new 3-year deal has been agreed between clubs and UK broadcasters over TV rights. More than £100 million of additional funding in English football has been committed until 2025. And we can hear now from the Premier League Chief Executive, Richard Masters.
I think it's a very significant moment. We've been missing three things. Fans, hopefully they're coming back next week, and then full return for the start of next season. Financial security. Premier League has lost probably £2 billion across the Premier League economy during the pandemic, and that and also certainty. And I think this is what these prospective deals offer us, not just the Premier League, but also the wider game. It is certainty. As you know, we redistribute 15% of our revenue into the pyramid, into the wider football and good causes. And what the certainty allows us to do is to underscore that commitment going forward. It's going to be £1.5 billion over the course of this current term, and the same going forward is to go further than that and put an extra £100 million into those areas of the game that have been particularly hit by or made vulnerable by the pandemic. So that is the National League system, which is just beneath the EFL, hundreds of clubs in the National League ladder. The women's game, both at professional end and girls' sport, League One and League Two clubs. The Football Foundation, which is the grassroots of the game, and then some whole game projects. So football's response to dementia, head injuries, football's response to the issues of discrimination within the game. All those things we can start to address with the certainty that's provided by the opportunity to do these agreements.
The Business Secretary has said he is minded to approve this deal. Is there any doubt in your mind about this deal being approved by government?
Well, what the government has decided to do after, and we're very grateful for them for their support as well as our broadcasters, is to issue an exclusion order which exempts these agreements from the Competition Act. In order to put that in place, there's a process that needs to be respected, and so there will be a period of time when the exclusion order is looked at and scrutinised, and so we have to respect that and then come back to it.
You've spoken about the stability. What do you think this new deal will do for the competitiveness, in particular of your top clubs, both within the Premier League and in Europe?
Well, I think this deal provides security for everybody and provides a competitive edge for whichever club you are in the Premier League, whichever part of the league you are, whatever your aspirations are. It helps everybody. So we have a very competitive league at the moment. City have been absolutely fantastic. We've still got a top four race going on. We think we've had 9 different clubs at the top of the league during this topsy-turvy pandemic season. So I think it will help competitiveness, and that's what people want.
What about the additional £100 million funding? How was that decided?
In dialogue with government, they challenged us to come up with the right formula to help the whole of the game, and that's why those are sort of new areas which we're putting funding into, to ensure that the recovery, hopefully we are now into the recovery period post-pandemic, where the sport can start to recover and everyone can get back on their feet.
Did your clubs support the idea at first, or was this something that you had to agree to for the government to give this tentative approval?
This is something we've been working on for a number of months, and our clubs were brought up to speed this week, and they were happy to support the proposals.
Can you say yet how the £100 million will be distributed?
Yeah, I mean, I think we pretty much can. Imagine 100 million divided into broadly 5 pots, and that's the way it's going to work.
The FA have said that they warmly welcome this news. What reaction are you expecting in the game?
Hopefully, a positive reaction. As I said, stability is the one thing that we've all been missing, and this provides certainty at a really crucial time. It's been a really challenging period for everybody, all sport, I know the whole nation. But football needs to be able to plan for the future with more certainty, and that's 2 things happening: return of fans, which is that feeling that sort of feeling of a return to normality, but also the economic certainty it brings, and also the long-term planning that is brought about by security of funding. And so these broadcast agreements will be able to achieve both.
How comfortable are you that you've got the distribution model right, that enough people across English football are benefiting from this?
We are confident. So, as I said at the beginning of this interview, we redistribute 15% of our revenue all around the game into the EFL, into wider good causes and community activities at hundreds of clubs. So we believe we're doing the right thing.
As we sit here now, are you still confident that that's going to happen? It's going to be full crowds, full stadia from the start of next season?
As confident as I can be. I mean, the mood music from government, the messaging from government is heading in the right direction. Obviously, there are precautionary messages amongst that, and the safety of everybody has to be our priority. And the experience might be slightly different in phases, but it'll still be fantastic and enjoyable and somewhere close to normality.
Did the proposed European Super League play any part in accelerating this deal?
No, as I said, we've been working on it for months, so very much prior to the European Super League coming into play.
This is the first time we've had to speak to you since the proposal was announced and then very swiftly withdrawn by 6 of the Premier League clubs. Looking back, just how angry were you by what happened?
Well, I think it's about my personal feelings. I think that the whole of football was united about the European Super League proposals. The concept was so plainly wrong. It was badly handled. It created division and uncertainty at the worst possible time. I think those clubs that are involved have acknowledged that and have apologised. We're now in a process with them to find out the facts about what happened, and we need to complete that process quickly, efficiently, justly and appropriately before we can move forward.
How would you describe the relationship between you, the Premier League, the 14 clubs and those 6 clubs right now?
Well, we were in a meeting together. We can still get business done. It's one of the reasons why we need to complete this process efficiently. We're going to bring in measures that will hopefully realign all clubs and owners around a core set of principles, and I think you've heard about the owners' charter. And so it's not just about finding out what happened, it is also about resetting the Premier League and resetting all of our clubs around a core set of principles moving forward.
Representatives, though, from those 6 clubs aren't on some of the key bodies and boards within the Premier League. Are the relations still strained?
Yes, they are strained, and they will take some time to put right and for trust to be restored. Hence the need for a I believe, an efficient process that concludes the matter.
Do you think you can ever prevent the threat of a proposed breakaway league? Is it always going to be there?
No, I don't think it can always be there. I mean, you know, it happened 3 weeks ago. The threat was laid bare and was over within 48 hours. I think what people want to know, what fans want to know, what stakeholders want to know, is that the regulatory regime is strong enough to withstand it. We think it is, but we're going to bolster our rule book. We're working with the FA and potentially with the government to underpin it, to bring in strengthened rules to ensure that breakaway concepts are a thing of the past.
How important is it that the Premier League punishes the 6 clubs for what happened?
Well, as you know, we are in discussions with those clubs. We're in a process and we want to conclude matters quickly and efficiently and justly, but don't ask me to prejudge the outcome.
Do you have any concerns in the final few games of this season about the protests that we've seen? We saw what happened at Old Trafford that's led to the game tonight, to be rearranged for tonight between Manchester United and Liverpool. Is that playing on your mind about with fans returning, they might want to disrupt other games?
Well, the events at Old Trafford has created issues, and fans have the right to protest, but they must do it peacefully and they must do it respectfully. I'm empathetic with the views that they're expressing, but they have to do it in the right way.
So what would be your message to those supporters in the final few games of this season when they are allowed back into Premier League stadiums?
I would say, you can make your voices hear, but do it within the law and do it peacefully.
What did you make of the unified response from within the game to what happened? It seemed to be a lot of people within football came together at that single time at the start of that week.
I think that's absolutely right, and perhaps it goes to the heart of the idea itself, because it did unite everybody in an instant, and I think that's why it fell apart so universally and so quickly.
We mentioned 2 Premier League clubs that are in the Champions League final. What's your reaction to the news a short time ago that the Champions League final between Manchester City and Chelsea will have to be played at Porto rather than at Wembley? Well,
it's a decision for UEFA. They're under, like many football administrators, they're left with a really difficult set of decisions to make. So it's their decision. More important for me is that there are two English clubs playing in that final, so congratulations to them both. I think it's really exciting that you can see young English players playing a big part in getting to that English final as well. Phil Foden, Reece James, Mason Mount have all come through the Premier League Academy system. And I think the Elite Player Performance programme that the club's committed to over a decade ago is now starting to bear fruit, and you're seeing lots of young English players coming onto the scene and starting to play part at Premier League level and now at European level. So, you know, it's going to be a really exciting final. I'm looking forward to it.
We've spoken a lot throughout the coronavirus pandemic. How do you begin to sum up this season and just everything that has happened on and off the pitch?
It's been a crazy season. And it's been an extraordinary experience to be at the epicentre of it. But I hope with fans back at the end of it, with, you know, as we talked about, the prospect of a full return from the start of next season, and with the security offered by the potential of these new television agreements, we can start to look forward with more certainty and more calmness about our great game and the fantastic Premier League we have.
And finally, Richard, the Premier League remains in dispute with Newcastle, who have since secured their survival to the Premier League next season. Your reaction to them staying up, and is there anything more you can tell us about how those talks, those legal disputes are going?
Well, they're in the Premier League and they'll be pleased about that, but there's nothing I can say about the takeover or any talks.